Welcome and good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Taylor, and I will be your worship associate this morning. Our minister, Reverend Ed Prue, is away this weekend, and our guest speaker is Chaplain Laurie Taylor, who holds a Master of Divinity degree from Houston Graduate School of Theology and is ordained by the Order of Universal Interfaith. She received her board certification through the Association of Professional Chaplains and has worked as an interspiritual chaplain in hospital and hospice settings. She's currently a chaplain at Texas Children's Hospital and the Texas Medical Center. Laurie received her coaching certification through the Coach Training Alliance and owns a private practice, Virtual Grief Coach, where she provides grief therapy services virtually and in her local community. She's a proud Texas Aggie, that's hard for me to say, an Army veteran enjoying life in the woods with her husband and her teenage son. And I want to go off script just a little bit. If you all notice the amazing similarity in the names, it is not a coincidence. Laurie is my niece. And so no one here is happier to welcome her. And I would also like to welcome her husband, Oscar, and her son, Patrick, who have promised to behave through the service. So Reverend Taylor will be talking to us today about understanding and connecting with the modern-day relevance of the Passover celebration so that we can tap into the well of divine energy we all have within our souls to help us create societies based on the principles of justice, righteousness, and compassion. Thank you for being here, whether you're joining us in the pews or online. And now I'd like to introduce Cecil B. Behrens, who has a few words for us about the service auction.
How about that? All right, so say it with me. Lights, camera, auction. So, a few announcements. Again, our live auction will be May 18 in Westwood Hall, right over there, 6 to 9 p.m. We are actively looking for volunteers to come help out before and during the event. The sign-up sheets are now on our information station table outside, and we really hope to find a lot of people to help us out. The silent auction is already up and running, so really all we need now are your donation forms. There are handouts in the Delaney Hall that will have these QR codes as well as the actual links. So please pick one up so you can start donating. There's a separate QR code to get to the donation form versus getting to the actual auction site where you can already buy your admission tickets and you can start perusing any other offerings that we have. We greatly appreciate it if you could go ahead and take care of your admission tickets now so that we will have a pretty good head count in terms of food and beverages. So you can start bidding. We also have sponsorships available, and these are extremely appreciated. Each sponsor will receive their very own star on Emerson's Sponsor Walk of Fame. So if you prefer not to have your name actually on your star, we can put anonymous, but your name would be even better. If you are in town, please plan on coming in person as we are pulling out all the stops. And this is shaping up to be quite the party. By all means, bring friends and family, kids included, and encourage them to either donate and or bid online as well. So to give you just a little sneak peek, we did secure a celebrity for red carpet photo ops. And we may even have an Oscar or two to award in categories such as Best Costume in a Major Church Auction. So you are, of course, welcome to attend as you are. But if you are so inclined, please feel free to dress up like a movie star. So start thinking, who will you be? Maybe it's Wonder Woman. Maybe it's Forrest Gump in running shorts with a box of chocolates. Maybe it's Barbie or Indiana Jones, James Bond, Batman. We cannot wait to see who all will be in attendance on May 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil. And a few more announcements. Lunch Bunch today will be at 12:15 at Mob Pizza, which is at Bering at San Felipe, almost within walking distance of here. This is an informal gathering for fellowship and to continue conversations. All are welcome to join, and if you're still a little new around here, we'd love to invite you to join us as well. Between the service and Lunch Bunch, we'll share coffee and conversation here in the gathering place just outside the sanctuary. Are you new to UU? Are you interested in getting to know Emerson? We're interested in getting to know you. Join us after the service next Sunday at 12:15 in the library, which is room 203 upstairs, to explore Emerson and Unitarian Universalism. Light refreshments will be served. Oh. Okay, so there is no get to know you. Nancy, do we have another date for it? Okay. So forget what I just said. We didn't run the script through the membership committee. Yeah. See, Nancy in the red sweater here, you can't miss her. Okay. Thank you. Hate to send people to a non-existent gathering. Okay, so forget the refreshments too. Just come for pizza later. Okay, we'd like to especially welcome our visitors this morning. We're very happy you have chosen to include this place on your spiritual journey. You should have been handed a welcome packet when you arrived. If you did not, we're sorry for the oversight. Please feel free to ask for one as you exit sanctuary this morning. And Nancy in the red sweater is a good person to ask. That welcome kit contains a yellow card just like the one in the seat back in your area. And at this point, I cue people to wave the yellow card. Anybody going to wave a yellow card? There we go. If you fill it out, we'll put it on our and I swear it's only twice weekly mailing list to keep you connected. So if you're ready to take that step, feel free to complete the card and leave it in the offering boxes. There are 2 in the front of the church and 1 in the back. And welcome to Emerson. We're delighted that you're here. Please now enjoy our prelude as we formally begin our service. Now we transition into our sacred time together, a time of reverence, a time of attention, a time of intention. I invite you to join us in this time marked by the lighting of our chalice flame. I'd like to invite Charlie to come forward and light the chalice flame here in the sanctuary. And I invite those of you at home to light a candle where you are to join in spirit. We
We mark this sacred time with words, important words that bring us into a time of collective intention.
As
we light our chalice flame here in the sanctuary.
Invite those of you who, I'm sorry, that is the second line, but I insist if you have a chalice at home or a candle, please light it. Now, today we hear words from our second source, words and deeds of prophetic people. These words come from American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman Frederick Douglass. Douglass was born into slavery in 1817 in Maryland, escaped, and went on to become one of the most important leaders of the movement for African American civil rights in the 19th century. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false and incur my own abhorrence. Emerson is a beloved community of faith, reason, and affection. We welcome all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We do this by gathering to seek, learn, and grow, and in the course of our work to promote love among each other, our congregation, and the wider community here in Houston. Whether you're in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom or Facebook, we welcome you. No matter where you are in your personal spiritual journey, we invite you to live, learn, and love and grow with us. As a covenantal community, we aspire to promote love, fellowship, and social justice, as well as support for your personal growth. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. It's important that we acknowledge that our history is a shared and harmful one. Our congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and Atakapa peoples, here for at least 2,000 years before European settlers arrived and very nearly brought about their end. May we recognize, uplift, and support Indigenous voices and communities in our work as a congregation.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Reverend Ed absolutely for inviting me to speak this morning. It's truly an honor. So each time we are gathered, we hear words from one of the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Today we hear words from Jewish and Christian teachings that call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. This reading of Exodus chapter 12, verses 21 through 42 is from the Jewish Torah. Moses then summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go pick out lambs for your families and slaughter the Passover offering. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and to the 2 doorposts. None of you shall go outside the door of this house until morning. For when the Lord goes through to smite the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, and the Lord will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter and smite your home. You shall observe this as an institution for all time, for you and for your descendants. And when you enter the land that the Lord will give you, as he has promised, you shall observe this rite. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this rite? You shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, because he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but saved our houses. The people then bowed low in homage, and the Israelites went and did so, just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So they did. In the middle of the night, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the captives who were in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And Pharaoh arose in the night with all his courtiers and all the Egyptians, because there was a loud cry in Egypt, for there was no house where there was not someone dead. He summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, "Up, depart from among my people, you and the Israelites with you. Go, worship the Lord as you said. Take also your flocks and your herds, as you said, and be gone. And may you bring a blessing upon me also." The Egyptians urged the people on, impatient to have them leave the country, for they said, "We shall all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders. The Israelites had done Moses' bidding and borrowed from the Egyptians objects of silver and gold and clothing. And the Lord had disposed the Egyptians favorably toward the people, and they let them have their request. Thus they stripped the Egyptians. The Israelites journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. Moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay. Nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. The length of time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the ranks of the Lord departed from the land of Egypt. That was for the Lord a night of vigil, to bring them out of the land of Egypt. That same night is the Lord's, one of vigil for all the children of Israel throughout the ages. And now with our chalices lit and our hearts and minds centered, we often celebrate just a little more by singing a hymn. You may stand if you are comfortable doing so, or you may stay seated. But please help us raise our voices and sing. Our opening hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us in Your Great Hymn. For this morning's story for all ages, I will be reading Speak Up, written by Miranda Hall and illustrated by Ebony Glenn. There are times we should be quiet.
There are days for letting go. But when matters seem important, speak up, let others know. With so many ways to speak up, like a sign, a smile, a shout, if we could make things better, why not let our words come out? When you're being introduced and they get your name all wrong, speak up. Say your name. You are you, and you belong. When someone spreads a rumor and you're sure it isn't true, speak up. State the facts. Truth can open up our view. When a rule just isn't fair or has gotten much too old, speak up. Work for change. Justice comes when we are bold. When a person wounds another with their words or with their fist, speak up. Be an ally. Safety comes when we persist. If you see someone who's lonely or they're having a bad day, Speak up, share a moment. Kindness goes a long, long way. When you make a small mistake, even if you didn't know, speak up, say you're sorry. Learn to listen, learn to grow. When you have a special day and you're given something neat, speak up, shout your thanks. Gratitude makes life so sweet. When you're sad or packed with feelings and the world seems dark and gray, speak up, ask for help. Friendship chases clouds away. When trees and creatures suffer from our quick and careless choices, speak up, rally others. Nature needs our mindful voices. When you know a scary secret about someone getting hurt, speak up, tell a grown-up. Courage sometimes means you blurt. When the group is taking one path, but you know it's not the way, speak up, change directions. Leaders don't always obey. While some people speak up loudly, and your words might whisper quiet, one voice can make a difference. So don't hesitate. Go try it.
Each time we gather, we ask your help in fulfilling this church's mission. The success of our church and of the principles we support is made possible by the work of our members and friends and by your financial support. We honor that support by striving to live the mission of this place fully and wholeheartedly. Here at Emerson, the collection does not go to funding our work, which is funded through our pledges of financial support. The offering each week goes to fund the work of important partners of Emerson who, in our opinion, live out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community and in the world beyond our community. The act of giving our financial support is both a transformative spiritual act and one way that we live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our April Share the Plate recipient, Citizens Climate Education. Citizens Climate Education is a nonpartisan grassroots advocacy organization that empowers people from diverse backgrounds to educate key stakeholders, policymakers, and the general public about effective solutions to climate change. This powerful core of climate advocates builds political will for long-lasting climate solutions at the federal and state levels. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash or a check in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church. During the offering music, children who want to attend an RE class may follow teachers to the classrooms.
And now as we enter our time of meditation, a time of prayer, a time of careful contemplation, I invite you to make yourself comfortable in a position that helps you to feel grounded and centered. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in and exhale. As you take another deep breath in, breathe in the love of community. Exhale loneliness. Inhale the love for your own uniqueness. Exhale self-doubt. Inhale the love for the power of advocacy. Exhale injustice. We will now pause for a few moments of silent prayer and contemplation. Amen, and blessed be.
The words of our second reading today come from our second source, the words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Elie Wiesel was born in 1928 in Sighet, Transylvania, now part of Romania. He was 15 years old when the Nazis deported him and his family to Auschwitz. His mother and younger sister perished, and his two older sisters survived. Wiesel and his father were later transported to Buchenwald, where his father died shortly before the camp was liberated in April of 1945. He is the author of more than 60 books of fiction and nonfiction. He received numerous awards for his literary and human rights activities, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the U.S. Congressional Gold Medal, the Medal of Liberty Award, and the rank of Grand Officer in the French Legion of Honor. In 1986, Elie Wiesel won the Nobel Prize for Peace. The following reading is an excerpt from his Nobel acceptance speech delivered in Oslo, Norway on December 10, 1986, where he reflects on his memories of being a prisoner in the Nazi concentration camps. I remember, it happened yesterday, or eternities ago. A young Jewish boy discovered the kingdom of night. I remember his bewilderment. I remember his anguish. It all happened so fast. The ghetto, the deportation, the sealed cattle car, the fiery altar upon which the history of our people and the future of mankind were meant to be sacrificed. I remember he asked his father, "Can this be true? This is the 20th century, not the Middle Ages. Who would allow such crimes to be committed? How could the world remain silent?" And now the boy is turning to me. "Tell me," he asks, "what have you done with my future? What have you done with your life?" And I tell him that I have tried to keep the memory alive, that I have tried to fight those who would forget, because if we forget, we're guilty, we're accomplices. And then I explained to him how naive we were, that the world did know and remained silent. And that is why I swore never to be silent wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. Wherever men and women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe. There is so much to be done. There is so much that can be done. One person, a Raoul Wallenberg, an Albert Schweitzer, Martin Luther King Jr., one person of integrity can make a difference in life or death. This is what I say to the young Jewish boy wondering what I have done with his years. It is in his name that I speak to you and that I express to you my deepest gratitude as one who has emerged from the kingdom of night. We know that every moment is a moment of grace, every hour an offering. Not to share them would mean to betray them. Our lives no longer belong to us alone. They belong to all those who need us desperately.
The Jewish celebration of Passover will begin tomorrow night at sundown and end at sundown on Tuesday, April 30th. So why is that relevant to us? What do we stand to gain in understanding a celebration surrounding a story of inciting events that happened to a Jewish population around 3,000 years ago? One word: freedom. The story from our first reading gave a brief glimpse into the story of a people who found their freedom after years of slavery. Every year at Passover, Jewish communities come together to commemorate and celebrate that liberation by hosting seders, special dinners. During this time, they retell the story of the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. They consider it their duty to remember with intention a history plagued with oppression, from their enslavement in Egypt to their more recent endurance of discriminatory regimes that have suppressed their self-expression and driven them out of their homes, as experienced during the events of the Holocaust. This celebration is meant to be a reminder that freedom is a tenuous privilege, calling on Jewish communities to remain mindful that the ability to convene in Jewish spaces, to pray in Hebrew, to have access to lucrative jobs, and even the ability to walk down the street free from threat of violence is a privilege that was not always theirs. In this annual celebration, they not only look inward at the struggles that their people have endured, but they're also challenged to look outside of themselves, challenged to stand with those who still seek justice. Here in the United States, we claim to be a free country. And in many ways, and for many people, we are. However, structural deficiencies in our society's treatment of marginalized populations call us to speak up
against injustice for those among us who are still not free, those who are not free to love whom they choose, to be identified as the person that they are, or to have equal access to something as simple as medical care. Those who are mistreated and judged solely by the color of their skin, their national origin, or the religion they practice. As a celebration of liberation, Passover is an invitation to speak to issues of civil rights, breaches, and infringements on the freedoms of others. I'm reminded of a poem from 1946, post-war, a confessional that was offered by German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller. It's about the silence of German intellectuals and clergy, including, by his own admission, Niemöller himself, following the Nazis' rise to power and the subsequent incremental purging of their chosen targets, group after group. It reads, "First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. I was not a Jewish slave in Egypt. I was not a prisoner in one of the many Holocaust camps. And yet, that is the power of a celebration like the Passover Seder. It collapses the present into the past, making what is old relevant again. This retelling becomes a journey that requires facing external, worldly challenges, sometimes harrowing ones. It's a journey that requires transformative inner moments, opening eyes, and waking up to life as it is rather than how we might wish it were. It is a journey through which, if we bring our courage and our faith, we might come out on the other side a changed person or a changed community. Or we may even be part of creating an unexpectedly changed world. It is important to remember that the Israelites did not fully gain their freedom when the escape from Egypt was certain. It was earned through another 40 years of trials and tribulations in the desert on their way to the Promised Land. Standing up to injustice means facing obstacles and enduring trial after trial. It means acknowledging that the very institutions that we benefit from are the same ones that have denied others freedom. How are we to reconcile living in a nation that has offered us the opportunity to live life liberated if others who live here cannot access the liberation that we enjoy? As Elie Wiesel did, we recognize that our lives no longer belong to us alone. They belong to all those who need us desperately. We draw on that divine energy that resides deep within each of us. And through our programs, our rituals, our retelling of stories like the Passover, we balance these ideas by expressing gratitude and acknowledging our privilege in our ability to access what we need to live with dignity, and we say enough to denying others the same experience. We use the power of our collective history to tap into the well within each of us, drawing on our collective strengths to build bridges, tear down walls, and create societies based on the principles of justice, righteousness, and compassion. As the tradition of Passover is handed down from generation to generation, so too must we teach those who come after us to continue in this fight for freedom. After serving 8 years as an enlisted soldier in the Army, I made the decision to become an officer. Before shipping out to attend officer candidate school, my unit's command Sergeant Major Fielding, approached me. He reached into his pocket and he pulled out a folded up piece of paper that looked like it had been through every battle his generation had seen. He handed me the paper and told me that a mentor of his had given it to him when he became a sergeant, a junior leader of troops. He was retiring later that year and told me that he wanted me to carry it as I pursued my career in leadership. On that piece of paper was a poem, which that in and of itself was odd because Sergeant Major was one of those men that could fill a door frame. I mean, he was this big, tough Sergeant Major, and to have him carry a poem around in his pocket just seemed odd. So it was a poem that was written by Will Allen Dromgoole, an American poet of the early 20th century. And it reads, "An old man going a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him. But he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. 'Old man,' said a fellow pilgrim standing near, 'you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build this bridge at the evening tide?' The builder lifted his old gray head. 'Good friend, in the path I have come,' he said, 'there follows after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I'm building the bridge for him.'" I carried that poem in my uniform pocket for the rest of my career. I made it my personal mission to always leave a bridge behind me for those still struggling on the journey. We are all capable of building those bridges to help others attain the freedoms that we already experience. We all have the power to effect change that will lessen the struggles of those who come behind us through our conversations, through education, through advocacy, and through love. Amen and blessed be. Please join us in singing our closing hymn, which is number 325, "Love Makes a Bridge," in the gray hymnal. Now we have arrived at the part of our service where we must extinguish our chalice flame. I invite Charlie to come and extinguish our chalice for us. This flame has served as a reminder to us that our time together this morning is sacred, a time set apart, In the words of Reverend Brian Keeley, the chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. We are so grateful for your presence this morning, for those of you who have joined us on YouTube. After the postlude, we'll be ending our live streaming service. Thank you to all online attendees. We look forward to hosting you again soon. May we, in the course of our week, be more and more aware of the communities of which we are a part. May we be more and more aware of our individual part in those communities. May we be more and more aware of how those communities co-create our journeys with us. And may we be more and more aware of how we co-create their journeys with them. Amen.